Today on the official Marvel podcast, we're joined by Chinaka Hodge, the head writer and executive producer of Marvel Television's Ironheart, to tease what's in store for Riri Williams.
We get to open up a whole lot of new characters and a whole lot of new storytelling in the MCU that no one else has been able to touch before.
And we'll hear from Dan Fields, Executive Creative Director at Walt Disney Imagineering, about interacting with your favorite heroes at Avengers Campus.
Every once in a while, Spider-Man himself gets up on the roof to test some new qualities he's working on for his suit, and we see him slinging himself 80 feet above the web building, which is thrilling to everyone.
Plus, we'll speak with comics writer Zoe Tunnell about her work in Marvel United, a Pride Special, issue number 1.
I'm Sade Spence.
I'm Raylo.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
Marvel Television's Ironheart is right around the corner, and it features a fantastic cast that includes Dominique Thorne, Anthony Ramos, Lyric Ross, and Alden Ehrenreich.
I am so stoked. So, what was it like continuing Riri Williams' story on television? Well, I spoke with head writer and executive producer of Ironheart, Chinaka Hodge, about the new series. Will you first just tell us a little bit about your role on the show and what that entails?
So hi, I'm Chinaka. People call me Knock. So Chinaka Hodge. And my role on the show, I was brought on as head writer and became executive producer during the time there.
Awesome. And so when it comes to the project, can you tell us a little bit more of what that gets into? And how did you come to this project, actually? Because we've been hearing about it for a minute.
I feel like there were 6 or 7 roads that led me to this project, all of which are fun to talk about. So I'm a poet by trade originally. That's how I came up, and I came up in a really vibrant poetry slam community that is helmed, I would say, in a couple of cities, but the Bay Area where I'm from and Chicago is the other. So I've always had a love and affinity for Chicago and visited Chicago a whole bunch growing up. And for a very long time, worked as part of a national collaborative of young writers and poets called Brave New Voices. And the person who helmed the Chicago branch, or one of the people who helmed the Chicago branch of Brave New Voices and what they're called Louder Than a Bomb, is Eve Ewing, who wrote the original. Bendis wrote the first run, but Eve wrote the run of comic books that we spend the most time exploring in the show. And so Eve and I go way, way back, like passenger seats. And so definitely through Eve. And then I would say I pitched on another Marvel project that I wasn't quite the right fit for. And I think that's really good to talk about when I'm talking about Riri, because Riri's an engineer. And so I like to talk about it. It was like, that was my beta. My beta pitch didn't go very well, but we optimized and we came back. So I pitched on a Marvel project that I didn't get, but I talked about in that project wanting to write for a woman who was smart, who was capable, who was funny, who was quirky. And so when Zoe Nagelhout was beginning the initial process of building out our room, the writer's room for Ironheart, she remembered me from that initial pitch, or one of her colleagues did, and passed me along. And so I like to tell all the time, like, I think one of my greatest failures came to be what I hope is one of my greatest successes.
Awesome. And so what would you say was your familiarity with Riri Williams before starting work on the show?
My familiarity with Riri Williams was very, very, very high. 1, because I'm friends with Eve, and so I had read the runs already. 2, because I'm interested in representation, and I'm interested in comic book heroes that look like me. And so being able to write for her for the screen is such an honor, because I know what it means for younger comic book readers of all different races, creeds, nationalities to see a hero that looks like this. I think it will change minds and it'll change worlds. And so, I've had an eye on Riri the whole time, because she's one of the few who really looks and feels like me.
I love that. So now getting into the show a little bit, where do we pick up with Riri when everything is starting off?
So we pick up with Riri right where Ryan Coogler and the amazing team of Wakanda Forever left her. We get her out of the water, so Riri does not spend much time in Namor's underwater kingdom. But we meet her back at MIT, and she's really in the books on her John, trying to step into an iconic legacy.
And on that, what would you say are some of her main motivations around that are driving her choices at the top of that first episode?
Well, we really wanted to keep Riri as grounded as possible. She's a college student with college student problems. And so she's got she's got research to do. She's working a job, and I'll put that in quotes, to make ends meet. And I think like Riri she's got a really big dream and not enough time and not enough money and not enough resource to make it happen, which I think is very relatable. And then from there, she's aspiring to live the fullness of her potential. She knows she's a genius. She's been exposed to other geniuses like Shuri, like Namor. She's seen the possibility of the world, and I think our Riri is now motivated to go and get it for herself.
And so we were introduced to her, like you mentioned, just a little bit before, but I don't feel like we actually got to know her. So what was it like building out her entire life and the people that we're going to see in it?
It's so much fun, and I can say I hope we did Chicago justice. Chicago's a character unto ourselves, and we very much situate Riri in Chicago for this show and for all the episodes. I would say that Riri is, I don't know, she's quirky and she's funny and she's a sneakerhead. She's hardworking. She's been through some things, and I think she's been through some things that feel germane to our readers and to our audience. She's experienced some trauma and trying to navigate around that. She's siloed in some ways in her brain, and so I think our show is really about externalizing what goes on inside of Riri Williams' head.
Yeah. What were some of the themes that were really important for you to incorporate throughout the season?
So we really want to talk about Riri's ambition, and we focused a lot on Riri's ambition. I think all the characters in this show struggle with and unpack their ambitions and their hopes for both themselves and their communities a whole bunch. I think Riri, this is, for all intents and purposes, this is an origin story for Riri. And so we're unpacking why she wants to wear the suit. I won't answer that here. You can watch the show. But I think she has her own designs and her own needs on why she wants to build a suit and why she wants to be the next Iron Hero. And we unpack all of that in the series.
And Chicago is a new location for the MCU. How does the culture of the city play into the show?
I mean, I will say I'm not from Chicago, but my parents met in Chicago. My mom's from outside of the city. I've spent, like I said, through poetry, I spent a good deal of time there. We tried to get it right. We did our very, very best. And we have a scene of bucket drums, which is a big Chicago thing. When you walk across the bridges in downtown Chicago, the bucket drummers are there. And my brother's a professional percussionist and had been playing for a very long time. I wanted him to come and play on Ironheart, but the timing didn't work out. He was in an accident that took away his ability to stand upright and to hold his drumsticks. And so when we were on set, I met the bucket drummers that we hired, and I asked them to give me a pair of sticks to take to my brother while he recovered. And they played beautifully. And I offered them to my brother, and he said, "Don't hand them to me if I can't hold them yet," because he wasn't yet at the point in his physical recovery where he could hold the sticks. So I said, okay, and I held on to them. Time passes, years go on, and we're in post-production on the show. I don't think too much about it. We're hiring people to do ADR and sound coverage of the buckets. I talked to my brother and he said, "Yeah, I did a gig. I hope it goes well. I had to tape the sticks to my hand, but I played the buckets. I think we got good sound. They ended up using it. You'll never guess what the name of the production is." I say, "What?" He says, "Ironheart." So if you want to see the production that allowed my brother to play music for the first time after his terrible, terrible accident, come watch Ironheart on Disney+.
Wow. So this series also has so much personal meaning to you in that sense as well. Wow.
There are 1,000 stories of magic and wonder that surround the cast and crew and talent of the show. And we made the show during COVID. We made the show during pandemic. And so everybody who was there really, really tried hard and showed out to be there, showed out and showed up. And what you're seeing is the result of so many people's hard work and effort.
Yeah, really showed up. And, speaking of the incredible people you worked with, some of them, cast Dominique Thorne, Anthony Ramos, Alden Ehrenreich, Lyric Ross. Can you talk a little bit about working with them and what they're bringing to their characters?
Dominique Thorne is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. She's an incredible actor who brings so much thought and charisma and acumen to every single line. She's a Cornell grad, and she brings an Ivy League caliber mind to the set every single day. Not to mention how she dealt with all of our crew and how magnanimous she is. But Dom is just the best. And then pair her with Anthony Ramos, he's got so much talent in his pinky.
Yeah.
I would hate to see the whole hand. You know what I mean? It's just, he's funny, he's smart, he's athletic. And I would say one of the best things about our cast and our crew, Lyric, everyone you mentioned, everyone brought heart to it. Lyric has a brand new role. It's Lyric Ross as we've never seen her before, and she gets to play a fun and quirky sentient being on the show. We have Harper Anthony, who is probably our youngest actor on the show, and he made international news for posing in a three-piece gentleman's suit as a young boy, but he's a Chicago original himself, and he's in the show, and it's his acting debut, and I can't wait for the people to meet the young talent that is Harper. There is no lack of talent in our show. Alden was also a dream to work with, and he's super funny, and he's playing a role that we haven't seen him in before, and he has great chemistry with Dominique, and takes both the humor and the drama to new places.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I also didn't ask about working with Ryan Coogler and his involvement.
Man, you're gonna make me code switch. I love my brother Ryan Coogler in a very serious way. We're both from Oakland, California, and Ryan is just at every corner of my career. Ryan has made sure that there were opportunities for people like me to step into the light. I would say that Ryan and the entire team at Proximity have gone above and beyond to make sure that not just me and not just the character of Riri Williams and the story of Ironheart, but that all creatives and young Black women creatives have space to step into the light.
Mm-hmm. And how is Ironheart different from some of the other shows that we've seen in the MCU?
I would say Ironheart is different because it's super grounded. I think we get to open up a whole lot of new characters and a whole lot of new storytelling in the MCU that no one else has been able to touch before. Because of the cast and because of the crew, you're not going to see representation like our show anywhere else, not just in the MCU, but nowhere else on television. We have women speaking, we have queer people speaking, we have trans people speaking. Our show is unapologetically representative of the America we inhabit. It's grounded. It's set in Chicago for the first time. We've never seen any show in the MCU set in that space. And we are introducing some new characters and some new modes into the MCU that we have not yet seen on screen.
All right, nice. Chinaka, it was so great speaking with you today. Thank you again for joining us.
Very, very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Marvel Television's Ironheart premieres on June 24th, only on Disney+. If you've never been to Avengers Campus, you are missing out. It is truly like nothing you've ever experienced before. With locations at Disney California Adventure and Disneyland Paris, fans are offered the experience of a lifetime, getting to meet their favorite superheroes.
So, what's it like overseeing such a unique fan experience? I spoke with Executive Creative Director at Walt Disney Imagineering, Dan Fields, about interacting with your favorite heroes, including Iron Man, Spider-Man, and more at Avengers Campus. Dan, it is so great to have you here. First off, could you tell us a little bit about your background and role as Executive Creative Director?
I've been with Disney for about 20 years now. I actually am a theater director by training. Did new plays in Seattle and Los Angeles and New York, but my first big break in New York was as the resident director of The Lion King on Broadway, the original production of that show. So that was a really exciting introduction to Disney. But a few years later, I ended up getting tapped to become a creative director here at Walt Disney Imagineering. So I'm specifically in the Disney Live Entertainment Group within Walt Disney Imagineering. So I oversee the creative side of any production, the director, choreographer, writers, designers, etc., and partner with my producing partner to get it done on time.
That is all very cool. You wear clearly many creative hats. So for our audience who may not be familiar, can you tell us a little bit about Avengers Campus in California and Paris and its origin?
Yeah, Howard Stark had factories all over the world, including here in Paris. And eventually his son, Tony Stark, brought his colleagues over and took an old car factory there and turned it into a research and development location that eventually became a home for Avengers and the training site for new recruits such as us.
Well, thank you, Tony Stark, or actually, thank you, Stark family. Shout out to the Stark family for giving us a great Avengers Campus. Can you talk about maybe the heroes someone might see at Avengers Campus and how they came to be there?
So the Guardians of the Galaxy came with Mission Breakout and found a home here, and they're, participating in recruiting the heroes of the future. And of course, Star-Lord's got his own way of doing that. He just wants to make sure people have great senses and are looking out for each other, but he also likes it if they can dance. There's also Okoye and the Dora Milaje. So once that connection was made and Wakanda revealed itself to the rest of the world, Black Panther asked Okoye to come to the campus. Then, of course, Spider-Man is there. And every once in a while, Spider-Man himself gets up on the roof to test some new qualities he's working on for his suit or his web. And we see him slinging himself 80 feet above the web building, which is thrilling to everyone. Iron Man is really at the heart and center of Avengers Campus, along with other heroes like Captain America and Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange and Thor. But every once in a while, a new hero dawns or returns into our story. So even different versions of our universe happen.
Well, that's incredible, Dan. I love that we really get the whole gang sliding, swinging, flying into Avengers Campus. But as we know, Marvel is about more than just its heroes, right? Some villains are very beloved by guests. Loki, I'm looking directly at you. How do you position those sorts of characters for campus experiences?
Loki is beloved, and some days Loki is heroic and is generous, and other days Loki wants you to bow down before him. So one way or another, a lot of our guests, a lot of our recruits, are looking for those kind of interactions with someone as powerful as Loki.
Okay, well, I'm now looking forward to my own one-on-one meeting with Loki. That sounds like an experience a recruit definitely won't forget. What sort of interactions can guests expect with our different heroes at Avengers Campus?
The heroes are there to recruit the next generation of heroes. And we know that not everybody is going to be super powered or have some extreme skill, but that doesn't mean a guest of any age, young or old, can't focus on their training and reveal their heroic qualities. So sometimes you might see some guests doing an activity with Captain America or Black Widow, a kind of drill, if you will. But what they're really doing is training in the heroic quality of determination. So we really try to focus those interactions with the guests. The games that they play are really there to bring out those heroic qualities in all of us. And lastly, I would just mention the fact that T'Challa allowed for the Dora Milaje to come do their outreach here at Avengers Campus and be part of our environment and allies of the guests that are here, the recruits that want to be part of the story to keep our planet safe. When Okoye connects those tenets of the Dora Milaje to the guests standing right next to me, and a little kid will step up and talk about what makes them strong inside them. I mean, that is just so powerful and inspiring. And to think that we could have a moment as powerful and emotional like that connects to the heroic qualities of these masterful warriors right in the center of Avengers Campus, it gets me every time.
That is so heartwarming. I love all the individual interactions we get to see in a real life recreation like Avengers Campus. Can you tell us about how the heroes' suits are adapted for Avengers Campus?
Yeah, a lot of the needs of the heroes are similar to wherever they are, whenever they're called into a mission. So I think you'll find that the heroes are, when they're in Avengers Campus, they are suited up. They are geared up. That's why Iron Man is in his Mark 80 suit and Black Widow's got her stingers on. Everybody is ready for action. You never know who or what is going to happen there. So the textures and the accessories that the heroes would expect to have in the field or on a mission or up in space are right there with them. Oh, also, Spider-Man, he gets a lot of new suits over the course of his adventures, destroys a lot of suits as well. So with the help of Tony Stark, he got a unique Spidey suit that you will only see him wear at Avengers Campus. He is testing out different properties of the strength of the material and some new technology with his web slingers. So that's what he's doing up there on the roof, and also tinkering inside of the web slingers building.
Okay, noted. So keep an eye out for Spider-Man on the roof. Those of you with supervision, it may be easier for some of you than others. I heard there may be also some new heroes coming to Disneyland in California. Can you maybe tell us about their upcoming visits?
Yeah, having the Red Guardian drop in to Avengers Campus is so exciting. He's such a big personality, and he is so excited, not just to meet us, but to meet all of the other superheroes of the Avengers who he's heard about when he was in Russia for all of those years. Also, coming up very soon, the First Family. So keep your eyes peeled for in Tomorrowland for the First Family making an appearance. Fantastic Four.
That is all so exciting. I cannot wait for the next time I visit Avengers Campus. Well, Dan, if someone was interested in having a job like yours, what skills or experiences would be helpful?
I would say make your projects. Make your projects happen wherever and however you can. If you want to do a job like this, creating shows, creating character experiences, you don't need somebody else to tell you you can. Get out there with your friends or your colleagues, put on a show, put it in a theater, put it in a park, put it on the street, dress up, do your cosplay, go to conventions, make your story, tell your story however you can, and that becomes your living, breathing resume. You're going to meet people, you're going to find people, people are going to find you and open those doors for you. You don't need someone else to tell you that you can make a story.
Thank you so much for all those insights, Dan, and thank you for your time. It was so great to have you with us.
Newsflash, if you didn't already know, it's Pride Month.
Yay, happy Pride, everyone. And even more good news. Marvel United, a Pride special, issue number 1, is on shelves now.
And fellow official Marvel podcast host Anthony Carboni spoke with comics writer Zoe Tunnell about her work on this year's action-packed special.
Zoe Tunnell, welcome to the podcast, and also as an official writer in the Marvel Universe.
Thank you. I'm honored to be both on the show and also a writer in the Marvel Universe. It's kind of incredible. I mean, Marvel's why I got into comics. The first comic I ever owned was a trade paperback of Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 1.
Yes.
I was an Ultimate Universe kid. I remember, I picked that up, because we were on vacation and we had a big plane ride and my Game Boy was dead. And I was like, I want to read something on the plane. And I saw that one and the Fantastic Four movie was coming out. So I was like, why not? And I read that trade 3 times on that plane ride. And then after that, it was just every weekend going to the local Borders and buying another Ultimate Universe trade. And then when I ran out of those, I started buying, mainline Marvel stuff and just diving further into it.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I love how many people say, when they were a kid, their first thing was either in an airport or a grocery store.
Yep.
I just love that. You just kind of see it at kid height and you're like, ooh, that's for me.
Ooh, bright pictures.
Now let's talk a little bit about the actual Marvel United, a Pride Special number 1. This is your Marvel Comics debut. What kind of excited you most about this project?
I mean, besides just getting to write for Marvel, which is a dream come true. It's hard to overstate how wild it is writing for the company that is the first comic I ever read. I remember when I first got the email, I was next to my partner, we were watching wrestling, and a match that they were really into was on, and I just had to tap their leg and be like, and they were like, what? And then I just showed the subject line of the email and they went, oh my God, and paused the wrestling. But yeah, it's incredible. It's exciting, but it's also so exciting to be a part of specifically Marvel United. This celebration of queer characters and creators is really, really special. I'm the first trans woman to write Sarah. It's an honor that I cannot overstate. It's incredible.
That's so huge. That's so huge. Can you tell us about her and kind of why you chose her for your story?
Absolutely. Sarah is one of my personal favorites, but people not knowing her is not necessarily a surprise. She hasn't appeared in a ton of issues. She debuted in Angela Asgard's Assassin, and she is from Heaven, no A, just all E's. That is the 10th realm of Yggdrasil. And she was born an anchorite, which is the kind of male class of angels in heaven. Live very boring, secluded, scholarly lives, kept from the sun, everything. She hated it, decided to leave, hooked up with Angela, magically transitioned and became Sarah, who's a sorceress of some power, kind of an adventurer who once fought alongside Angela against the hordes of hell so they could be together. And she hasn't been seen in a while, so it felt really good to bring her back.
Now, we got to say here, Marvel's first out gay superhero was North Star, who came out in 1992 in Alpha Flight number 106. And since then, talking about Sarah, queer representation's come quite a long way in Marvel Comics. Do you remember the first time you kind of saw yourself in a Marvel comic?
Well, there's two answers to that one. There's one when I was a teenager and I was kind of poking at the door of my gender and like not getting there yet, but I was like, something's going on here, but I'm not going to deal with that until I'm 28 years old. But it was Ultimate Jessica Drew.
Oh, wow.
So if people don't know her, she's a female clone of Peter Parker. And she, had this whole journey of like forging her own identity and realizing like, I am a girl. I'm still into girls though. And for the time, I don't think it was intended as a trans allegory, but boy howdy, does it hit home as one. And I think she's just really special. And then the second answer is far more recent. I had come out to my friends and family. I still was stealth in public. And I was reading my Wednesday haul at work on my lunch break. And I was reading an issue of Immortal Hulk. And there's an issue spotlighting Dr. Charlene McGowan, who is a really wonderful trans character. She's a rad scientist who has no powers herself and does not let that stop her from being in the thick of things. And I just remember reading this and trying not to tear up at my desk because I can't explain, oh, why are you crying in an issue of Hulk? I don't want to talk about it. Like to my coworkers. But yeah, like that's truly the Al Ewing and Crystal Frazier who assisted on that issue, providing like sensitivity reading. Just incredible work.
Wow, that's amazing. That's such a man. Yeah, Charlene rules too.
Yeah, she shows up in a different story in the Pride special, which is a delight. I'm so glad that Al gets to bring her back.
Yeah, that's rad. Oh, man. So getting back to your story here, this is Sarah and Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. Such a fun kind of like heist. Tell me about how the concept for this one came up.
I wanted to do Sarah because obviously, like, she hasn't been around in a while. I didn't want it to be with Angela because I love Angela with all my heart. She's one of my favorite characters, but she and Sarah have a lot of messy history that hasn't been resolved. And I didn't think I could do that justice in 10 pages. And also, Sarah is a great character who deserves to be able to stand on her own. And Felicia's one of my absolute faves. So when I was trying to think of who would be fun to pair Sarah with, I was like, well, Felicia's fun with everybody. There's not a single character that she doesn't have like a fun dynamic with.
I think there's sort of an interesting thing about not seeing the fallout, right? Because I think people who have been fans for a while have been wondering.
Yeah. They went from Queen of Hell, which had like them in each other's arms fighting against the hordes of hell to be able to live together, to very abruptly breaking up and kind of never really dealing with it. I do get into it in the story. I think there's a little bit more explanation for why Sarah did it, but I did try and leave a little hope for maybe a future story with the two of them dealing with that mess. So we'll see if me or someone else takes it and runs with it.
It's fun to see Sarah teamed up with Felicia, though, because regardless of whatever's going on in Felicia's life, Felicia loves to look easy breezy. That's her thing.
Sure does.
And Sarah does not do easy breezy.
Nope.
And so the two of them together are a very interesting dynamic.
It's funny because, like, on paper, they seem a little similar because Sarah's Sarah's a sorceress, but she's kind of tricky about it. She loves to play cards. She loves to cheat at playing cards. She loves wordplay. She loves like being the trickster almost, like not quite full Loki. Loki's got that covered. But then she's a lot more like uptight in a lot of ways. She like can't roll with the punches quite as well as Felicia does. So I had a lot of joy like having these two women who are both here for the same reason. They want to steal something for a lot of money. And then when things go sideways, they react to it in completely different ways.
It's really fun to see them both sort of deal with the emotional damage they've wrought on others and themselves throughout this.
Yep. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because Sarah is much older than Felicia. Sarah is like, not technically not Asgardian, but is in that corner of the universe. She's from heaven. She's been around for a long time. Felicia's got more life experience, I think. Felicia's got a whole parade of relationships that have universally not ended well. And I think putting them in a position where Felicia gets to be like the older, wiser person to this ancient, technically like immortal sorceress was a very fun dynamic to throw.
Yeah, although I will say, if you are in a position where Felicia Hardy is giving you life advice, you're probably not in a great place.
No, you're not doing good.
I absolutely love this story. As your career sort of progresses here, what are you hoping that readers kind of take away from your work?
Well, there's two things that I tend to focus on. One is damaged is a bad word, but like characters that have gone through rough stuff. Whether it's like relationship trauma or like, characters who are incapable of making a healthy life decision to save their lives, but also characters who are struggling with like identity or like the world around them. And I always try and make sure that those characters have humanity to them. And like there's something that you can dig into and see like, I see why you're like this. And like, I hope it gets better for you, even if it won't. And then the other one is, not every story I write is going to be queer or queer focused. I don't want to be pigeonholed into only writing queer narratives or only being like, trotted out to write like, a queer story. Although, to be clear, that isn't what happened here. I was so honored to do this. But I do, when I have the opportunity, love to include queer characters, both in a central focus capacity, but also like I want people to see like, we're just folks living our lives. Not every story like involving a trans person needs to be about their struggles being trans. Like it can just be, yeah, I am a trans person. Here is my life.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, please go pick up Marvel United, a Pride Special #1. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
If you're looking for something else inspirational to read this Pride Month, look no further than 2023's Marvel's Voices, Pride issue #1. This LGBTQ+ centered anthology includes 8 action-packed stories that will not only leave you glued to your seat, but your heart? Oh, it's gonna be warmed. This was the 3rd anthology in the Marvel Voices collection, so you've got no shortage of reading to keep you entertained. The 2023 edition features the talents of Kieran Gillen, Vita Ayala, Anthony Oliveira, Sarah Gailey, and more. You'll follow the adventures of Wiccan, Hulkling, Black Cat, Gwenpool, and some newer characters you are destined to root for. In the Marvel Voices Pride issue #1, Everything's Coming Up Aces, written by Marika Nykamp, Gwenpool takes center stage. Gwendolyn Poole was just a bored teenager with an extensive knowledge of comics who found herself thrust into the Marvel Universe. The self-proclaimed asexual icon takes it upon herself to throw the ultimate pride party for her community. She quickly realizes she doesn't know the first thing about planning a huge bash, though. Fortunately, she knows just who can help. the most dazzling superhero of them all, Dazzler. The party is a hit, and as Gwenpool revels in the light of her friends, music, and the immaculate vibes, she breaks the fourth wall to deliver an important message. Hey you, Ace Kid, reading this right now. I want you to know, be proud. You are perfect just the way you are.
Next week on the official Marvel podcast, we'll hear from Ironheart composer Dara Taylor and music supervisor Dave Jordan.
There were definitely a few moments I can think of right now that, maybe initially were intended to be a song and then ended up being score or vice versa.
That's it for this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps other Marvel fans find the show.
Yes, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode.
This episode was hosted by Ray Lowe and myself, Sade Spence.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores.
With help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Zachary Goldberg.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.